All right, guys. So this is our second run at this. Doreen and I already started the broadcast once, and that's very unfortunate. I am a technical kind of semi idiot. Okay, that's with all due respect to people that understand how Facebook works. I do my best to manipulate it. But guys, remember, success is not final. Failure is not fatal, and it's courage to continue that counts. And as I mentioned already, the people that we're watching on YouTube and Twitter, Doreen exemplifies, the upstate New York farmer exemplifies that motto. They never give up. They're tenacious, they're tough, they keep going. And Doreen recently had an experience that I want to share with everybody. She had an audience before the king or the queen, or however you want to look at it. You went to a New York State legislator and shared some information with them about what you would like to see happen. And I'd like to start right there to let people know what we're talking about today.
So here over the past, I don't know, a couple of weeks, our Senator Michelle Hinchy has actually put together what she calls an ag tour, a visual virtual ag tour. So there were some of us that actually went in and we signed up to get involved, speak out, talk about the problems that we're seeing, the problems that we're facing with New York State agriculture in particular. So one of the things that I actually discussed was and not just myself, there was a couple of others on the first day too. We actually talked about the pipeline issues from a producer standpoint to the consumer standpoint. We have a gap that's in between where we produce. For us to be able to sell retail, we need to be able to get into a butcher shop. You know, butcher shops are not everywhere. They're not available. USDA, I was explaining to you before, there's only 32 USDA butcher shops here in New York State. There are 27 states across the continental United States that actually offer an in-state equivalent to a USDA slaughter. New York is not one of them. We need to get something fixed in this process, because right now our USDA butchers here in the state are booking into 2022.
All right, so that's 11 months away, right? We're talking, if you have product that you want to sell, a minimum wait time of 11 months. Am I hearing you correctly there?
Some of it's 12 to 18 months, depending.
Wow.
So let's take a look at it this way. A pig, and I don't know how many people actually know this, but a pig actually takes 6 months to grow from the day that it's born until the day that it's processed, generally speaking. That's literally asking a hog farmer to set up an appointment 6 months before that animal is even born. They don't even know if they're going to be born.
Right. Now, see, a lot of this is so complicated. And you use the word pipeline, and I think people may, like, we talk about pipelines and we talk about the Keystone pipeline and the gas pipeline, but your local food from your store that you go buy in a store comes from somewhere. And there's a process to get it to the store. So that's what you're talking about when we're talking about pipeline. And so for you to participate in getting your beef in a store, you're saying you would have to talk to a USDA approved butcher and maybe make an appointment for July of next year. Would that be reasonable?
Yeah. Right now they're looking at March
of next year.
I've talked to 3 that are March of next year. So that's a full 12 months. That's a full 12 months out.
That's amazing. I mean, that's amazing in a way that how could it be like made? It's got to be made simpler for you guys. Okay. When we look around upstate New York and we see farms falling in the ground and farming basically going by the wayside as a way of life, I'm just amazed that it's that difficult. What kind of laws, what kind of things do you think should happen that would make this better? Please feel free to share that stuff.
So one of the things that we can actually do as a producer is we can sell what we call a custom process. Mm-hmm. And that custom process means that, say you call me up and you say, hey, I want some beef. I can say, okay, I can supply that for you. You have to buy the animal live from me, and then it goes to the butcher shop, and then you give them your cut sheet. You take care of that process. Some farms will work on the back side of that because, you know, we have trailers or we have a facility to be able to handle getting them there, getting it from the butcher. But then it creates a pipeline issue with the butcher too, because now the butcher's got, instead of dealing with one farmer, they're dealing with 20 customers.
Yeah. Let me ask you this question. If you wanted to take beef, cut up a big cooler, freeze it up nice, go to a local farmer's market and start meeting people. Is that legal? Is that even possible?
If you do USDA slaughter.
Okay, so you could do it. You'd have to get it USDA slaughtered. You'd have to plan 12 months out in advance to 14 months in advance, right? Is that what you're saying? 12 to 14. Okay, that. I've been backed up as a contractor before, so I can get where, but I don't know how you could commit to anything like that when we're talking with the realities of the world that we're living in. Like, how do you do it?
Well, right
go ahead. Is it challenging?
We don't have a choice. What's the option? We either sell in bulk, which most people don't. They can't facilitate it. Reality of it is, most of us don't live in the country. Most of us don't have big freezers. So, the average consumer wants maybe 20 pounds of meat to last them for a month.
Yeah.
We can't. So how do I handle that as a producer when I get somebody that calls me up and says, I'd like to buy 5 pounds of burger?
Right.
So how can we go back and say, sure, I can sell it to you, but I can only do it next year?
Yeah, that's amazing. So, guys, and this is where I want one of the ways libertarians love solutions. We love ideas, and we love to find real ideas that can support our neighbors. Okay, so, and I want to tell you that one of the things that I've had a very, very, very positive experience with, I have regularly, usually about once or twice a year, gone to a local producer such as Doreen, and I negotiate out purchasing part of an animal and having it custom butchered. And first of all, you have to it's so much fun for me because I like to cook and I like to get creative and I like to find things like, you get all sorts of different cuts of beef when you do it with beef. And so you get like flank steak, which guys, I'm going to tell you right now, here's the deal. Flank steak, when they ask you whether you want it or not, get it ground right up into the ground beef because it doesn't work. Okay, there's nothing you can do to flank steak that makes it taste good, and that's just my opinion. If someone has a recipe for flank steak, that's fine.
Smoking it, you can smoke it.
Yeah,
it works that way.
It does work that way because I've done this several times, and basically you get to go right directly to your neighbor and buy food. And I think that we've got to this point in our society where if we don't let the government get involved, people automatically have this nervous reaction like, oh my God, the government didn't expect that cow. Like, is it going to kill me? And I just want to ask this question because I think it's very serious and I need you to think about it. I need you to be honest. Okay. How many people have you killed by selling them beef on the hoof off your farm?
None yet.
None? Are you sure about that?
Positive.
You're positive, right? Okay.
They keep coming back every year, so that's a good thing.
So you're saying you have repeat business. Not only do they survive, but they come back for more.
Yeah. We've actually had people with us for 10 years.
Really? Yep. That's wonderful.
Repeat every year. But I want to counter this. Okay. A lot of people, I'm sure a lot of people that are watching this are deer hunters.
Mm-hmm.
All deer are processed through custom processing.
Right.
So if they're processed through custom processing, do you hear about anybody here in New York actually getting killed by eating deer?
By poisoning themselves with the deer that they shot? No, that's a pretty rare event as far as I'm concerned.
Well, the next thing I want to point out on that is that's an animal that has no background. We don't know how it was raised. We don't know how it was taken care of. We don't know the actual full health on that animal.
Right.
Amazing that part of it is okay, but beef isn't, or pork isn't, when you have farmers who have full records.
Yeah, so let's give a shout out to Jesse. Jesse's a good friend, a supporter of my candidacy, and I believe he's involved in some farming stuff. And I think he made this comment that going through that USDA process is very expensive. So basically, I've had what I would consider to be great deals. I get 100 or so pounds of beef, and I get some bones and stuff like that to make broths and soups. I get an incredible amount of ground beef. And guys, I want you to know about grass-fed ground beef. Comes in labeled like, I don't know, 80-20 as far as the percentage of fat, because there's some requirement to label what the fat content is. But when I cook that stuff, there is it's so lean, it's so delicious, and it's not the same kind of beef. It's just better than what you get in the store. It's leaner, it's fresher. And I don't know how to explain it. Like there's maybe it's because there's less grain involved, but grass-fed beef is delicious, period.
Well,
Grass-fed ground beef is the best ground beef you'll ever have. I'm not kidding. I'm not joking. Custom processed ground beef is better than anything you're going to get in the store. Anything. I promise you.
The fat's a little bit different. I mean, if you could actually take a piece of meat, like a steak, and you actually feel the fat that's in a true grass-fed compared to a grain-fed.
Yeah.
The grain-fed fat in it is actually higher in omega-6s, which is it's imbalanced fats.
Okay. That's the bad fat, right? Omega-6?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's a hard fat. Where if you take the grass-fed and you feel it, when you run your finger across it, it kind of melts like butter. That's very high in omega-3s. It's actually very equivalent to fish.
Okay, so my doctor's like, you got to eat more fish, and your good cholesterol is not great, and your bad cholesterol is not horrible, but like, let's try to work on those numbers. So what you're saying is, and maybe because I've eaten so much locally grown beef, that's why I've been managed to keep it where it's supposed to be, or at least close to where it's supposed to be. What do you think about that? Is that possible?
Very well could be.
All right. So here's my buddy, Andrew Hamill. Andrew's a young guy. He was living out in Skenevas. He was going to run for the Skenevas Town Board. Trying to have a farm in New York is next to nothing since our elected officials in Albany are allowing Cuomo to screw over our farms in New York. I think that, and I just want to expand on what Andrew's saying there. If we think about it, I've seen over the years, and I'm a lifetime upstate New York resident. I went to school down in Binghamton. I lived up at Syracuse for a while, but my whole life's been spent in central upstate New York. I see that the government, our local boards, they make these well-meaning laws that end up almost having the opposite effect of what was originally intended. Have you ever noticed anything like that?
Yeah, like there's certain things that, they want you to protect the water, and, you can't, which I understand. I mean, I'm here to protect my environment too, and I'm not saying that every farm is a good farm, because they're not.
Yeah.
It's just, taxes alone. I have no words to explain how bad the taxes are.
Yeah. So that's one of the areas where I saw real problems over the years. Like, as a contractor and a former farmer, guys, I used to live on a farm when I was in high school. Okay. I spent years on a dairy farm over in Franklin on the top of Blue Schoolhouse Road, throwing hay bales, building additions out of bent nails and old silos. I mean, these are things that we really, really, really did. And these are the things, the ingenuity that farmers have to bring to the table. So they make these laws. You just mentioned taxes, and you mentioned something that I want people to understand, and I want to expand this concept. And it's, you can't just develop your land without losing. Like, are you kind of? I feel like I want you to explain it, and then I want to put it in terms that is going to make everybody mad. So you go explain what will happen to you if you start developing your land and you're trying to farm it. What can happen to you?
Well, you can lose your ag exemption. So
what would that do to you?
Well, I'd like somebody else to pay my bills.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, reality, you and I had held a private conversation the other day about what we have for taxes here. We have 150. Yeah. We have approximately 150 acres in Broome County.
Right.
No tax exemption based off from everything that's here, just the way that it is right now. It's about $10,000 a year.
Right. And what's the ag exemption net you there?
I think right now it knocked it down to just under $5,000, so it's about half.
Okay, so I think that people are like, okay, great, we're doing the farmer a favor. But here's the deal, okay? There's things out there that farmers could potentially do, okay? Like, one of the issues, like we're talking about protecting the water. So they want a green space between your growing fields and where you pasture your herds, and where water runs off to protect nitrogen from flowing directly into the stream. Guess what, guys? As a libertarian, that makes sense to me, okay? But if Doreen decides to put in a greenway next to her road and put a couple houses on, or a little housing development, all of a sudden she loses this ag exemption, and she took big risk with her money, big risk with her contracts, and you're going to have to get a business partner now to make this happen, and you lose this ag exemption. And so $5,000 a year on a mortgage, if that you mortgage that out, that's $80,000 or $90,000 worth of a mortgage that you can get. Okay. So all of a sudden you've lost buying power, huge amounts of buying power if you lose that ag exemption, and you took a risk to provide a greenway. So what I'm suggesting as a libertarian, can't we combine those two things and still let you somehow keep your ag exemption? And maybe you've got to split off your farm, or we just recognize that entrepreneurship is a good thing and that we want farmers to participate in it because we want to grow our communities. So what would you think about that? What if New York State said, hey, let's on these greenways, let's let them put a couple houses and stuff like that. Let's let them develop those spaces a little bit instead of just saying, hey, you've got to take 40 acres of productive stuff and put a greenway on it. What would you think about that? Would that help you out, you think?
In some ways I do, in some ways I don't. I mean, so like right now, if I decided to do it, my honest answer is I would probably take that greenway and I'd pull it off. But then they still want a greenway, so you know, if you build those additional houses, it's gonna go up. Your taxes are gonna go up no matter
Right.
what. So common sense for me says I live here in New York. I'm gonna go hire a lawyer, and I'm
Right.
gonna get that separated off from the deed.
Right.
That it's on a separate parcel. But now it's actually it's deemed as commercial now, correct?
Correct. That's what I'm saying. You're like, it's this constant catch-22 of trying to please the government and do the right thing. And we've made it too hard on farmers, guys. We've made it too hard on them.
Well,
Isn't that
in reality, it's too hard on and here's how you need to express it. It's on any landowner. You know, let's say you have 10 acres and you want to put tiny houses out behind your house and rent them out to homeless veterans. Guess what? Your taxes just went up.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, so we do have a bunch of people in the audience and they're making some comments. Like, let's see if we can run through a few of them. Again, I mentioned Andrew. He feels very strongly Cuomo is screwing farms over. And that's how we got on the well-intentioned kind of thing. So let's move on to my buddy Ken. Hello, Ken. Thank you for being here. Ken, you know I put a lot of effort into running for office and changing the way that we did politics around here. And basically, thank you for that. I am considering it. I'm thinking about it. And I know time is of the essence with that stuff. But this last run for whatever I ran for and however hard I worked took a big toll on me. So what I'm going to do is try to help people like you and everyone else at the old guard who's going to be running for office. I'm going to do what I can. And then I'm going to find people like Doreen who have real issues that we can craft solutions for locally that, hey, maybe she moves from Broome County down to Otsego County and puts some of the over 10,000 acres in Otsego County that used to be productive back into operation. Go ahead.
Can I stop?
Yeah.
Now, I want to take right there is a key component. Okay. This farm was actually established as a family owned property all the way back to the Boston Purchase. I have you can go back on the farm page. It's on Facebook. You can find it. It's called Burroughs Farm. You can dig through the pictures that are in there. The deed goes way back. Now, why would we want to sell this farm to move to another county in New York when it's still the same issues?
Exactly. Like, it's historic, right?
Yeah, it is historic. I mean, this family's been on this farm for over 100 years.
Yeah.
You know,
so
and then you've got that multiple generations. So you're going to be that one in your family that goes, I'm going to fail the ancestors and the generations before me. They fought their tails off, and I'm just going to give up and sell off and move away.
It's wonderful that you don't do that. And that again, that goes to the grit and the determination of upstate New York farmers, because number one, the weather's not on your side. Number two, all over upstate New York, you have hills and you can drive 4 hours to the west and see flat land that's just easier to grow stuff on, period. So let me put Ken's question to you. Have you considered running for office down the road, or maybe soon, or maybe this year?
No.
No, not for you?
I'm a farmer. I don't have time for that.
Right. That's a good point. When I was a farmer, we worked 7 days a week, every single day. And like Sunday, we would milk the cows, do some chores, and then we wouldn't do any extra repair around the place. That would be like our day off, right? And we still milk twice, feed the cows, and do some extra chores. That would be our easy day. And it was still 6-8 hours worth of work, like as a 15-year-old, that drove me crazy, right?
I'll give you great examples. Christmas, you go out and you handle chores before you do anything for Christmas.
Yeah, and what if your water freezes up on Christmas? What are you going to do? You going to celebrate Christmas or what?
Nope, you're going to deal with frozen water. Everything with a farm always comes first. Always. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
So again, Andrew says we have very few elected officials in Albany who are willing to help farms out. Yeah, I think we do have very few elected officials that even understand what we're talking about right now, and that's why we're doing this. We need them to understand that what they're doing is destroying a way of life, as well intentioned as they may be. Okay, that they are destroying a way of life, and that freedom, guys, from my perspective, freedom, more freedom, freedom to develop your property, freedom to sell your food that to your neighbor without the threat of the government coming in and putting its boot on your neck. Okay, those things are more important. And honestly, guys, those things are more important than arguing over what national politician hurt your feelings this week. Okay, like I don't care. This is more important. And Andrew knows I feel that way, and Andrew respects that. He thinks like this a lot himself, so that's okay. My friend Peter Yeaple used to be in New York. He's out in Arizona. He does a podcast called The Voluntary Option. He's a great guy. He's brilliant. If you guys get a chance to see The Voluntary Option, check him out. He's friends with Adam Kokesh. You libertarians know who Adam Kokesh is. They're literally like best friends and neighbors. Either way, you have to pay to eat unless you poach. And Pete, there's opportunity cost of poaching. Like if you get caught poaching, they take all of your guns and they throw you in jail, at least for a short period of time. So don't poach. Plus your ammo still costs money. So that's why you live off the grid.
Plus, he's talking about poaching cattle.
Oh no, he's not. He Pete is a property rights guy. He wouldn't poach someone else's cattle. He would go hunt down probably like a wild boar or something like that out of season and eat that. Maybe. I'm not saying that he would do that. I'm saying he would respect your rights to your cattle. He wouldn't interfere with that.
Yeah, here's the problem is if our food gets too controlled and it gets too expensive in the store, where do you think people are going to go?
Let's hold this thought. Guys, maybe you've seen it. Let's circle back around to this one as food gets, as the government exerts more control. Let's circle back around. Let's catch up on the comments, okay? Hasn't the New York State government actually said land is worth more than the farmer?
Yes.
When you have, and so I don't know exactly what this. You expand on it for Jesse.
Okay, so let's look at land values. Okay, if you want to buy a piece of property and it's deemed as farmland, productive farmland, like in our area, it can range anywhere from $1,200 to $3,000 an acre.
Right.
But as commercial property, what's it worth?
Lots, yes.
Right, a whole lot more than what.
Hang on. Unless you're a big business that negotiates a pilot program to come in and make great jobs for everyone. But go ahead. That's a different issue, right?
But that's the issue. And you see, it's just like, it's just like this big push. You got to go to college. You got to go to college. You got to go to college. You're nothing unless you have a college education. Wrong. You're more if you actually go and work in a trade, or you're worth more if you're an electrician or a plumber.
Right.
These guys get an education. They don't go in debt. They make just as much money, but that has no value to it. Farming as a topic, it doesn't matter if it's land value or its value as a person. You're treated different if you're a farmer.
They're even historically, right? Big farm families, and there's always been this notion that farmers are poor, and
farmers are poor.
Well, they are poor, but first of all, they're incredible, guys. I'm a contractor now, and I learned how to do electric work. I learned how to do concrete work, and I learned how to do carpentry work, all from my experiences on the farm. Now, to be honest, my quality standards have improved substantially from what we used to do on the farm, and that's with all due respect to farmers. But like literally, my brother and I spent days recycling an old wooden silo, and I've told this story before, but it's hilarious. We would take the nails, because nails were completely and totally dangerous for cows. We would take nails, pull them out, straighten them up. Doreen, there we go. Okay. We'd pull them out, straighten them up. We'd set the boards in a pile, be straightening out nails. It was just incredible. Okay. It was how hard we worked to make room for an extra 10 or 15 cows. You're still here. Can you hear me? Don't worry. I can, let me work down to.
You got no volume.
Uh-oh. You can't hear me?
Tim, I don't know what I did. I lost volume.
I'll kick you out and then I'm going to add you back in. All right. All right. So anyways, as I was saying, guys, farming, when it comes to farming, and you have to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. Can you hear me now?
I'm back.
All right. Beautiful. All right. So here's another one that Ken wants to point at. Only state in America that is not allowed to drill for gas. New York State is not America. Regulation is legislative theft of property. We agree. I agree on that, Ken. I think we're basically on the same exact wavelength there. Jesse says, amen, sister. That's probably to something earlier that you said. I'm not sure what, but probably. Anyways, thank you, Jesse. Shelly, how are you? Don't worry that you're late. Feel free to kick it in and start asking your great questions. That's awesome. And remember, we're going to circle back around to something. And here comes, I don't believe that they are well-intentioned at all. It is all about control. And guys, as we move through life and we see what the government does and this constant increase in virtue signaling and demands that we behave X way and Y way and Z way, and if we don't, we're going to get ostracized. I think that even if it's, again, well-intentioned, and guys, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. All right. I'll give a guy like, okay, and I'm going to say this, Bill Gates the benefit of the doubt. But when that benefit of the doubt gets tossed out the window when he buys more farmland than any one person in the entire state, in the entire country, and then says, you know what we should do? We should eat plants instead of beef. You know, like, where does that crap come from?
He's okay with beef as long as it's printed in Israel.
Print or Thailand or whatever. So
no, the intention is Israeli.
Is it? Okay. All right.
Because, that's more environmentally friendly to have it shipped here.
Hey, Tracy, you're running for office, and I'm pretty sure about that. If you don't mind, if you want to share that, I'll put it up on the screen, what office you're running for and what you hope to accomplish, or a little bit about what you plan on doing. Be glad to share that. Yeah. See, I let my kids learn many trades while they were in school, and then they went to college. I agree with that. A well-rounded education isn't just repeating what your teacher tells you and being able to do Common Core charts when it comes to math. Like, hands-on experience is important. Absolutely.
But she does have to run the farm like a stock market. It's all a risks game.
Yeah. Now, and here's where, like, I don't mind the tourism. Basically, there are things that are happening that farming is going to change, okay, over the years. As we get more effective at producing food, farming, the shape of farming is going to change. People are moving away from eating beef. Not me, okay, not Doreen, not a lot of people. But so tourism and what they did with the baseball things, I get that it's annoying to some people. It doesn't bother me horribly. I don't know. But I would like to see farmers be able to participate directly in all sorts of tourism, little campgrounds on their property, agritourism, come up and meet your future meal. I don't care how you want to phrase it, right? I think that would be great. But like Doreen was saying, you run this risk of losing your agricultural tax exemption and your taxes doubling on you. And it would be impossible to make a living when that happens, Oh,
it's almost impossible to make a living now. I mean, especially here, that's just the reality of it.
Right.
Somewhere there's a statistic out there that farms, almost every farm has one person that works a full-time job off farm.
Say that again?
Almost, I think it's like 80% or something.
Yeah.
This is a USDA statistic, so it can be looked up and verified.
Right.
But at least one person on the farm actually has a full-time job off farm.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So a full-time job, a family, somebody's got to work outside of the house to make ends meet. Is that? Yeah. Okay.
To make ends meet, get insurance. There's a lot of different variables that actually go in there.
And the question is, why would they do that? Why wouldn't they just give up? What about, hey, why don't we talk a little bit about what about farming for you really worked out? What do you think? Like, why don't we tell you, if you don't mind, whatever you want to share, whatever you don't want to share is up to you, but tell us more about yourself.
One, I'm too stubborn to quit. but I came into this under a whole different perspective than most farms do. And I actually started a farm because I'd actually been through severe depression, and I was not doing so hot. And I was actually given a calf, and I raised that calf, and we actually ate it for beef. And then I expanded and I took in a rescue cow, and then I had calves, and I started a beef business. I like farming. Farming is a therapy for me. I don't know how, because it actually stresses me out more than it does not, but
Right.
I love what I do. I love what I do.
So you basically did this to make yourself mentally healthier. Is that basically what I'm hearing? And you're cool with me saying that, right?
Mentally healthier. You know, it's when you get super stressed out as a farmer and you go to yourself, hey, you know, I've had enough for one day. I'm going to go out. I'm going to sit in the pasture. It's the middle of summer. Your cows are munching on grass. There's something very therapeutic about that.
Yeah.
It's just different. It's different than anything I've ever dealt with in my life.
And you love it.
Absolutely. Hands down, best moments of my life.
I have moments where I look back on the farming life, and for the most part, I didn't enjoy it. But I look back, and there were certain days and certain times and certain beautiful experiences that I kind of miss. All right, but I do still kind of operate in the same fashion, right? I use my brains and my body to get things done, and I know that's kind of what farmers do.
Well,
I still share some of that production and getting things done kind of thing.
Well, it teaches you hard work and resiliency. I mean, you just have to.
Yeah, every kid should have to toss bales, Jennifer. That's for sure. And I think that's great. I think that's part of what our society is missing. That because there isn't as much agriculture, people have lost connection to what the farming way of life is, and even farming now. So many big, huge commercial operations that just rely on $1 million machines and like radar locators to harvest food, and yet we still have people like Doreen in upstate New York doing it the old-fashioned way, throwing bales and going out tending to her cows every day and stuff like that.
I don't throw bales. Nope, that is too much work.
Good.
Hey,
you got like
bales and feed them with the tractor. I'm not dealing with small squares.
Even you take advantage of technological advancement, and that's great for me. That's great to hear. I'm glad, because honestly, we did on the farm that we worked at. I'm not kidding. It was like everything we did was, from my perspective, the absolute hardest possible way to do it. It was, some of it looked insane to me. You know, I was just like, why are we doing it this way when this would be so much easier? And then everybody would be like, what are you, crazy? You don't know what you're talking about. You're not you're not even a farmer. And I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. I'm always wrong. I'll go to college. See you guys later. Anyway, so yes, I think this does mean that Tracy is running for office. That's great. We had a huge tourist community. We did. And tourism is, like so many other things, almost centralized, right? Otsego County is the center of baseball tourism, practically in the country. There's some places down in Georgia and South Carolina that do something similar, but we get way more families, way more kids. And it's, again, like, I know some people don't feel as friendly about it as I do, but I enjoy seeing those fields put to good use. And there is still room. Guys, we still have 10,000 acres in Otsego County that used to be farmland that's basically nobody's doing anything with except owning it. Or guys like the county board is so apt to do, transferring it over to a land trust, taking it off the tax rolls and negotiating with them some sort of potential payment in lieu of taxes, guys. And I think that kind of nonsense got to stop. All right. We've got to do battle against that.
But what's going to happen when all these small farms, they make it harder and harder and harder for farms? What happens when all these farms start selling out, and what's going to happen with the farmland? Is it just going to sit there?
Yeah, we can go over to Delaware County. You don't see if you want to take a drive through Delaware County, you can see what happens.
I have.
Okay, they just let it go wild. The state buys it, lets the farm retire, and then adds to its ownership, and then passes the tax burden of making sure roads go through that and stuff like that to the Delaware County taxpayer, which is the second or third poorest county in New York State. Just so you know, that's how it works. That's what they do. And it's for the environment, supposedly, and for our own good. And we just say thank you very much. We don't charge them enough for the opportunity cost loss, for the 5 times that they put under that dam, we never, all of us in upstate New York, this area never got paid, compensated adequately for that, period. Okay, don't ban me, Facebook. It's a simple fact. It's repressed, it's oppressed, and it's thanks to providing water to New York City. And guys in New York City, if you're listening to this, I'm not mad at you for that. It's just wrong. It's a morally wrong situation.
So I'm going to extend off from this.
Please do.
Anybody who has Netflix, I highly suggest that they actually go in and they watch. I'll have to get the actual name for it, and I can share a link for it in the comments later. Basically, this movie is actually, you can look up Woody Harrelson. He's the narrator on it. It's like Walk the Ground or something. It's all about soil and how farmers who are actually doing regenerative farming are assisting with the environment and protecting our water. They're protecting our ground. This fallow farmland things just sitting there it's not really helping anyone.
It's not doing anything more than you are doing. It's just
it's actually less.
It's growing scrub, unusable scrub. It's going fallow. Okay, like it's doing. The properly maintained fields are good for the environment. They grow, so it grows soil. It helps develop soil back. Like I said, the state wants a greenway, this imaginary thing where you have to put green spaces between your runoff and like a filter, which is, in a way, I get it, but like, let's let you guys do it in a way that makes sense and makes you money. So a bunch of comments supporting what you're saying. People having to work 2 jobs and 3 jobs and run a farm.
The name of that movie is Kiss the Ground.
Kiss the Ground. All right. Okay.
I highly recommend it to anybody to watch.
My buddy Dakota Finch, he's out in Cortland County. He calls himself a regenerative farmer. And guys, if like Barrow's Farm, if you want to buy me from Doreen, Finch's Farm, I believe is what it's called. But Dakota, if you're out there, put the name of your farm in there. My buddy Josh Wenger up towards Cooperstown, Warrior Ethos Farm. Josh does things a little different. What Josh has done is he's got those Irish Dexters and there's little tiny beef cows. You have those too?
Yep.
Oh my God. First of all, Josh, during my campaign, we had this little small party right during the COVID apocalypse in Oneonta, but he brought down some of that Irish Dexter beef. And guys, I'm telling you, I've been to Peter Luger's, okay? I've been to Peter Morton's. I used to manage restaurants, and I used to be into the restaurant gig huge, okay? Irish Dexter beef is the best beef I've ever had, and that's after going to Peter Luger's, okay? Like, I'm telling you, it's that good. It will blow your freaking mind. And yeah, he charges a little different, and he goes to USDA processing stuff, okay? And he's got to charge different because it's an exceptional product. Like, if you want to treat yourself to an amazing beef dinner, that's one way to do it. But guys, they're all over the place, people that are producing beef. Find them, get in touch with them, and buy beef. My buddy Donnie up in Milford, he doesn't want his name, number given out, whatever. So whatever, but he does it, okay? He sells beef. So it's a possibility, right? I get excited about the possibility that we can help people like you, help our neighbors, and guys, keep money locally in our community, because let's circle back around to controlling our food supply, okay? Let's circle back around to printing protein in Israel. Let's talk about country of origin, labeling, and so let's talk about that for a second. How familiar are you with that stuff? I've been reading a bunch of stuff on it, like
quite a bit.
Okay, good. You start. I'll add some color commentary to it because it's a real deal and it bugs me.
Which direction do we want to go? That's the question.
Okay, so if I go into a store and I buy a chunk of beef, do I know what country it came from?
No.
Why not? Why wouldn't I want to know that?
Well, honestly, me personally, I think everybody should. Traceability is a big thing. I mean, if us here as farmers have to contribute to traceability, which is why they want us to do USDA processing, then why are we not making other countries do that? I've never quite understood why we have to hide what country our beef is coming from. And guys, it's because somebody with money who buys beef and sells it from other countries and then sells it here, okay, bought a regulation that says, because we mix and match beef, and this is kind of an opinion, but kind of fact, okay, because we mix and match beef and we make ground beef and we buy fat from Canada and we get chunks of something from New Zealand and something from Australia, that was made in the USA. So we can kind of hint at that it was made in the USA when in fact all the parts of it were grown in other countries.
obviously a workaround around that is if you want locally grown grass-fed beef, you find somebody like Doreen. It's very, very, very simple. And guys, I don't know, printing my steak, and I'll get used to it. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Doesn't that kind of gross you out? Who are these clowns to tell me what to eat and what not to eat? What do you think about that?
I don't even quite know where to start. It just, we try so hard to go out and do the right thing by the environment, for the animal, for the people, for nutritional, all of it across the board. And then to have somebody come in and say, well, you're ruining our environment and you're bad and you're bad and this is bad for you to eat. So here, have something that comes off from a printer. I just, what's the long-term impacts on it? I mean, we don't even know what happens to us if we eat this crap for a year.
Yeah. Let me just throw this in there. Libertarians love 3D printers. I'm not going to say why, but carry on.
No, I understand why, but when it comes to our food, this is all stuff that we're complaining. Everybody sits back and they're concerned about what the healthcare industry is doing. Well, guess what? Our food is our biggest number one priority. If you're not eating healthy and you're not ingesting the right stuff, it's just going to kill you.
And beef grown locally in the environment's a non-stressful environment where someone like you is making sure they get fed appropriately, making sure they have water. Whereas this commercial farming thing, guys, I don't know if you've seen if you've seen anything about commercial farming, it's entirely different than how it gets done, the way that Doreen does it, the way that Dakota does it, the way that Josh Wenger does it, the way that Tauzell Farms does it. It's entirely different. These animals in these commercial farms get locked in a cage. They don't see daylight for 6 months and they ship. It's gross. Okay. Let's not even talk. I don't even want to talk about it because it's that annoying. All right. But let's see if we can run through a few more comments.
They're rolling in good.
Yeah, hemp farming is hemp farming and honestly any kind of cannabis farming, in my opinion, is fine. All right, and we need to deregulate that. Regulate it like onions. Relax about this stuff. We drink beer. We smoke cigarettes. There are things that we do that are legal. Marijuana is not worse than any of them. And guys, we have, again, guys, 10,000 plus acres in Otsego County that used to be productive that isn't productive anymore. Period. Okay. So let's fix this stuff. Let's relax a little bit. Let's let people do things that they're with their property that benefits the community and benefits them.
Well, and one of the things that people need to do too is they need to show support for these different alternatives, because without a consumer voice, farmers only make up 2% of the population. I don't know what it is specifically here in New York, but generally speaking, there's very few of us. We need our communities to actually come in and get involved and say, hey, we want to support our local economy through farmers. We want to be able to explore things like hemp.
Yeah. So one of the things that you and I talked about was this feeling that why do you feel like, guys, we just want to put this out there on the table and have a conversation, because that's how we get better. And that's therapy in a way. Why do you think farmers are so quiet about their situation? Like, what do you, can you put your finger on that for everybody?
Well, I know a lot of the reason why dairy farmers don't is because if you're tagged in with a commodity market, you're under a contract. If you, like in my area, there's basically DFA, Dairy Farmers of America. You sign on with a contract with them and you speak out against them. They come to you and they say, you know what? We've had enough of your BS about speaking out. We don't agree with what you're doing. You're dropped. What does that farm do then? They're milking 70, 80, 90, 150 cows with nowhere to take their milk to. They're effectively done.
They get to dump their milk on the ground or try to sell it for fertilizer, right?
Right.
Make cheese out of it, you know? Guys, listen, first of all, I appreciate all the comments. Second of all, I'm going to try to put every single one of them up there. And if you have questions specifically about farming or any kind of question for me, please feel free to ask those. And those are obviously going to get a little bit of priority as far as we'll actively try to answer them. But all right, so here's my buddy Laird. Laird does he's got a well drilling plumbing business over in Norwich, okay, Shenango County, northern side of Norwich there. He's gonna be selling Texas Longhorns in another year. That guys, this is the way, okay? This is the way to fight but and support your neighbor, to fight this globalist guys, this globalist agenda. With all due respect, it's real, okay? It's like they're vegans. They don't want us eating beef. It's a moral thing. I don't know. They want to impose their sorts of behaviors on us, and that it bothers me, right? Big difference between hemp and marijuana. I know, but grow it all, man, and regulate it like onions. If you grow marijuana, protect your own crop. I get it, like hemp
No,
is.
they should. Honestly, this whole regulated like onions. No, I don't agree.
Why not?
I am not a fan of commodity markets.
Oh, okay. So because of how it would get sold, you think that the grower would get taken advantage of? Would that be the way that
do get taken advantage of?
Okay. All right.
How about we take let's look at it from a start to a finish. So we have an industry that wants to take hemp, and let's say they want to make hemp. Let's just say these hemp. What do they call them? Where you hit them and they blow smoke.
Say that again. I got distracted by Ken's comment there.
What do they call it? Vapes?
Vapes.
For like your CBD oils. Let's say there's a company that actually wants to do that. Why do we have to have all this regulation in between for a farm to be able to grow that product for them? And I know, guys, there was a huge push for the hemp to actually be grown. They have tractor trailers sitting full of it that hasn't gone anywhere.
Really?
So what good is it doing?
I don't know. Here's a question, I think. Why doesn't New York help farmers collect the gas off their manure piles to run generators and other things so it's not being released? I bet you're having a problem with your auto correct on your phone, but that's a great question. So what he's suggesting is a program where farms find a way to collect their methane and burn it before it gets released as methane.
Okay. So NYSERDA actually did have a program set up, and they did actually facilitate quite a few of them across New York State.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the program set in place to have it go. It's
right.
They're high maintenance facilities. These aren't just little job, and there's a cost break even on those. So
right.
If it's high maintenance, there is a company out here. I'm not quite sure where they're from now, but they're working with farms to actually put these in, and they basically own them. They run them. The farm gets a kickback off from them.
That's a system I could kind of get behind. It sounds a little free market-ish. It sounds a little bit like, hey, we're going to take the methane and use it for something very productive. Because I guess methane is more damaging, allegedly, than just straight CO2. I don't know. I don't even want to get into the global warming debate, to be honest with you. I don't.
It's ugly.
I'm skeptical. I'm a skeptic of everything. I'm not necessarily skeptical that climate change is happening. I'm skeptical as to the solutions that our leaders are crafting. They feel like moralistic platitudes. So whatever, that's me. Crazy libertarian.
It's just like thinking on this whole bioprinted meat, and they're using that environmental aspect of it and the waste that comes off from the slaughter process. Well, why is there so much waste? My mind works a little bit different than other people's. I take a look at it and I go, well, if I butcher an animal, what's my waste that actually comes off it? Is it bone? Well, wait, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, what did we use the bone for? It was used in different kinds of recipes. People don't cook that way anymore. It was used for bone knife handles. Nobody does that anymore. So our system has changed where we're not so much utilizing what we can actually make. It's all about what printers can make or what plastics can replace all of these other goods with. Things have just changed. So do we go back and we go retrograde and we go, okay, we're going to try to eliminate some waste. Let's switch it.
Yeah, right. We've lost, we've forgotten the face of our fathers, sort of, right? Like the things that got us here and successful, we've kind of they've fallen by the wayside. We've become this mass consuming oriented society. And I think that, am I following you correctly there? I get it. I've been trying to keep up with it.
We've lost a lot of life skills that our grandparents had, that they had. Look at what's going on in Texas right now. They're blowing up because their water pipes are blowing all apart. Common sense. We all know common sense says shut your water off.
They didn't quite know how to handle that, did they?
No.
And I'm sad for those people. I know that this is very stressful for a lot of them. And yes, occasionally big government can do good things, get down there and help the people in Texas. So guys, my buddy Laird, there's a guy over in Norwich going to have some beef ready for people next year too. So that's great, bro. Thank you for sharing that. And of course, like, if you guys can't find Laird on Facebook, you can find me and I'll help you find Laird. And if you can't find Doreen on Facebook, you can find me and I'll help you find Doreen. Okay. Dakota Finch out in Cortland, guys, wherever you are, there's someone near you. And guys, in the cities, okay, in your densely populated urban areas, you ought to, because who knows when the zombie apocalypse is coming, you ought to make friends with a farmer, period. Okay.
Most of us small farmers want you to come visit. We want to show you what we're doing and why we're doing it. And we want to hold that conversation. Please reach out.
Yeah. Let me answer Shelly's question. Why can't New York sell clean tobacco so people don't get addicted to all the additives in cigarettes? Tax revenue. Tax revenue. That's it. It's that cooperation that you guys all heard me talk so many times, the cooperation between government and big business to generate slush funds for campaigns and revenue streams for the government to develop programs for the children. Okay. And guys, yes, I mock that. And I'm sorry that I do, because if you don't realize that I'm mocking it, I'm mocking it. It's a bad system. It hurts us and it causes our taxes to go up all the time. People that are doing the hard work, like me, like Doreen, like hopefully your kids, like that's the deal. Okay. Less government. We'll take care of our neighbors. We'll work harder even. It'll be fun. Down with Cuomo. Yes. I do see, look, guys, I'm telling you, I see this shifting of the tides towards Cuomo. I'm totally skeptical. I think it's a circling of the wagons, but maybe, guys, maybe we're going to see some justice about all the lies and corruption and certain manipulations that happened surrounding the nursing home scandal.
We can hope, but don't hold your hand on your rear.
Right. And maybe, guys, maybe. Nah, I can't even say it. It will hurt me to say it. I was going to maybe Cuomo really didn't do anything wrong. Okay. That was going to hurt me to say. I can't actually say that. I'm not trying to imply anything. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, guys. I'm not a prosecutor. I know what he did. I do. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. And so was that for me or was that for Doreen or for both of us?
I am crazy. I know I'm crazy.
I think I am crazy too. I agree. Government scare. I think. Do you know Rich? Rich, thank you for being here.
Rich is the farm business partner.
That's what I was wondering, because I know it's Barrows Farms and I saw his name a couple times. Government scare tactics.
I'm just the big mouth.
Guys, we can't deny that our elected leaders actively try to terrify us, to manipulate us into behavior patterns that they want to see us do. We can't deny it. It's no longer worth denying anymore.
Well, one of the things that you can watch, okay, and this is, I came from a marketing background. So one of the things that you can actually watch is the buzzwords. You got to watch the buzzwords that come out of their mouth. And there's a list of them, you know, just like this bioprinted meat. No animal has to die to make it happen. That's a buzzword. Right. It's better for your environment. It's a buzzword. That's all it is.
I agree. Like, let's be honest. All right, so like Jesse's following up on your point there. Let's call it circling back around to your point. Every part of an animal can be used. It gets used for fertilizer, it gets used anything. You can come up with uses for all of it. You can make cups out of the horns and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like you can do whatever you want. China, yes. No. Those are places where our beef can come from, and then it doesn't get labeled. Okay, China. Big ones are Australia, New Zealand,
Brazil,
Thailand. I think there was
Brazil.
A couple of them might really surprise you. You might be like, "Do I really want my food from there?" Guys, we're buying from places that have way less land regulations than we do, way less concerns about quality than the United States does, and so we should be able to know where our food comes from.
I'll feed off from that. So Brazil.
Yeah, please do.
Brazil. You mean like the 2 million tons of beef scrap that actually came into Pittsburgh and was sold, and a boatload of people got sick?
Oh yeah, didn't they? Yeah, yeah. When was that? That was not that long ago, right?
2017, 2018.
Yeah, yeah. And guys, we have room for city folk in upstate New York, in Broome County and Otsego County. But guys, like, let's just leave your politics back there, okay? Because your politics didn't really serve you there, okay? Like, whether you think it did or not, taking our water and burying our towns, not our, but our community, okay, guys? That's not, and then not really compensating for it. The compensation that Delaware County gets is enforcement of environmental regulations and grants for septic systems and water treatment plants.
But I think Texas is a great example of the disconnect of education.
Yeah, well, Common Core standardizes education across the country.
It's not
just focus on form, not function, and
it's not just that. It's life skills. It's that knowledge of, what do I do if the power does go out? What if I do? What if I can't get food at the grocery store? Where am I going to go? It's that, you see, that's what I'm saying.
I know where I'm going to go, but a lot of people have no idea, right?
That's exactly it. Nobody actually sits back anymore and goes, well, if I can't, what if?
Yeah. Guys, this is Josh. This is my buddy Josh. I mentioned him a couple times. Warrior Ethos Farms up towards Cooperstown. The Irish Dexter guy. He's got a bunch of them. Again, you said you had Irish Dexter beef too?
Do.
Oh my goodness. Guys, I'm telling you, the Irish Dexter beef, we should replace all the cows in the world with Irish Dexter beef, okay? Because it's just incredible.
Well, it's incredible beef. They're actually better for the environment because they're more efficient animals. I have some that are out here that I stand 5'8" with a 33-inch inseam, and these don't even reach my hip. They are the greatest cows on the planet.
Yeah. Hang on. I want to put this guy's comment up. This is my brother Pat. And if we had a cow that size, when we were doing our heifer rodeos back when we were 13 and 14, it would have been perfect for us. We would have rode that thing. And of course, we got so much trouble when we did it, but it doesn't matter. We still did it. I don't care. We'd probably do it again at our age right now. I don't know. But we tried to jump on the cows and ride them. And it was like in this big rock-filled pasture. We're probably lucky to be alive. I'm not going to lie.
So there's a guy out west. He's actually a friend of mine that he actually.
Uh-oh.
Used.
Your internet's getting spotty, but that's okay. That's normal. Or it's my internet's getting spotty. I'm not
yours.
sure.
It's not mine. I've got full and I'm on Wi-Fi, so.
Oh, and I have teenagers, and who knows what they're doing, downloading stuff. I have no, like
streaming videos.
Yeah, probably. They just decided to load up 8 Disney, not Disney, guys. My kids don't have Disney, sorry. But 8 Netflix shows into their cell phone before they leave the house. I don't know. All right, so we're getting out to about an hour, guys. I'm going to kind of thank you guys for all the comments. We probably didn't circle back around to everything that I thought we'd circle back around to.
We can always do another.
We should do another because this was fun. And Upstate New York Farm Girl, kind of a hashtag you're starting to work on, right? And you're going to be developing some products to help support and communicate out this message that Upstate New York farmers could use. First of all, help. Second of all, I heard you say today, welcome for interaction. You're looking for interaction with people who want food, and you want to help get them what they want. A freezer full of beef for a reasonable price, guys. A healthy, you can buy eggs, chicken, beef, all pork, all from your neighbor, all from the guy down the road. I guess there hasn't been a case of trichinosis since the 1950s, okay? Buy pork from your neighbor. You're going to be fine. And guys, people that are actively pursuing a better life in upstate New York, like Doreen, she's ready to go to work and battle these legislators. Let's do what we can to help her out. My buddy Laird. Laird will battle any legislator any day, all the time. Help them out. Buy something from them. Josh, all you guys out there are doing a great job. I appreciate you being here. Hopefully you appreciate the effort I'm putting forth on your behalf.
Absolutely.
Let's see if we can find a few more comments before we Mexico, you can buy beef from Mexico, but you don't get to know that it's from Mexico, okay? Like that, if you want to buy Mexican beef, fine. If you want to buy Canadian beef, fine. But shouldn't we know? And guys, the only way to really know, no matter what, is to buy it from Doreen or Josh or Laird. Okay, like that's reality. There's no way else that you're gonna. There's no other way to actually know where your beef is coming from. Look at our roads. Yes, we pay taxes. Yes, yes, yes. We need. Guys, I've had a pothole, and I love my town guys. They work hard. They keep this. They're up at 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning to plow the roads. But there's been a pothole in my driveway, and all the water from in my neighborhood drains right next to my house. And like, fix that already, man. You know. Anyways, yeah, true story. It is a true story. Don't say. I am only saying circle back to annoy you and make you laugh. So keep that in mind. All right. Oh, the thoughts on public swimming holes. Shelly posted something about how the town gets involved with public swimming holes and rivers and stuff like that, and how I think that probably what happened is the town decided to offer indemnification to a local property owner, so the local property owner didn't have to fence off the swimming hole. And once you cede rights to the government, you never get them back. And so you can ask for them back, you can fight for them back, but once you give them to the government, you're not getting them back without changing all of your legislators and having them focus on that specific issue. And Shelley, you know how hard it is to deal with that. That's one of the reasons why you and I get along so well, right? You understand the challenges that we face, and you're willing to do work to help get those messages out. And so, you got anything you want me to say? You got anything you want to say?
The biggest thing is we all, because I'm very big about supporting New York State agriculture.
Yes.
And I think one of the big things that we need to do is we need everybody to come to the table. This isn't just me standing up or the 15 farmers and organizations that are going to stand up and talk with our New York State Ag Committee. We need to hold an honest conversation to say, okay, where are the struggles coming from? Because right now there's just so many of them that you kind of sit back at the end of the day and you go, how am I going to deal with this? And then you go, but I can't do it this way because then there's a problem with this.
Right.
So we need more people to start going back to that, hey, I live 10 miles down the road. I want to come down. I want to stop. I want to visit. Support those farms that are doing the right thing.
Yeah.
The ones that you don't agree with them morally on, don't support them. Don't support them. I mean, us as beef producers, we can sell custom down to a 16th of an animal. That gets it down, but that also means that farmer needs 16 people to pull in money to purchase an animal for beef.
Right. So, but what you're saying is, no matter how this works, first of all, that to me sounds like there's room for more people to participate no matter what. Like, let's say all of a sudden you have, after today's show, you have 12 people that say, look, I need some beef. And you have a cow that's going out in 3 months. You could break that up. Right. But for example, right. Okay, you could, like Bitcoin, you could chop it up into really small pieces and divide it up. And then they could buy another cow and another cow. And then you can grow your herd in anticipation of having more business. So you have ways to meet people's needs and demands, right? I guess that's how I would want to put that.
We still need additional butcher shops, but it's actually a whole lot easier to get into a custom processor than it is at USDA processor. It's nice to have the farmers markets and to be able to walk in. It's still a convenience. People need to understand the process of what actually goes into this. They just need to. I raise a beef. It takes 18 to 20 months before I'm shipping it off to a butcher.
Right.
Work with me a little bit. Work with your local farmer a little bit. Eggs are a little bit more fluent.
Yeah.
Well, they're available every week. Pigs are available every 6 months. If you want a farmer to raise a pig for you, get in touch with them and say, hey, look, I'm looking at this fall. I'd like to buy a pig. Can I help you out? Can I give you a deposit? Can I work with you to actually do that? Most farms will sit down and hold a conversation on it.
Yeah. I think that's great. So in conclusion, one of the things I want to point out to everyone in this age of COVID restrictions, in this age of there are ways to get leverage with your legislators. Okay. Doreen already took one of those steps. She went to a legislative and offered to hear you. Okay. But guys, if we want these COVID restrictions lifted, if we want to encourage our legislators, guys, the Republicans basically on board with moving towards a direction to either prosecute Cuomo or remove his executive powers, which is at least the very first step. There are upstate New York Democrats that may still be on board in the Cuomo camp. Reach out to them and let them know that you will support any candidate running against them unless they participate in, at the very least, at this moment in time, removing Governor Andrew Cuomo's executive powers. It's been too long. It's embarrassing that it's lasted as long as it has. And these guys make a lot of money to not do their job right now. So let's help them fix that. Okay.
And don't forget either that every dollar that you spend is power.
Dollars are power. We could turn that into a t-shirt probably, right? Guys, thank you all for being here. I very much appreciate it. Thank you for the comments. Guys, check out Barrow's Farm. Guys, like my Senate page. It lost a few followers after I stopped running. I think the feds were watching me and they all got bored, so they stopped liking my page. Guys, thank you all seriously for joining us this Saturday afternoon. Thank you for all the comments.
Yeah, it's been a good conversation.
Yes, buy local, and we'll do more of these in the future, okay?
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Thank you, Doreen, very much.
Yep.
And again, thank all you guys. I appreciate it, man.